This morning, Zhang Yi was awakened from his dream. The artificial intelligence system urgently sent a notification to Zhang Yi. Warning, warning. The hideout is under attack, the current damage level is 0.0001%. The attack is ongoing. Please resolve the damage issue quickly. Zhang Yi panicked and thought to himself, what? The hideout is continuously under attack? Could it be those zombies coming? However, Zhang Yi wasn't overly concerned about the zombies because their attack methods couldn't significantly harm the hideout. He got up from bed and quickly approached the window. There, he saw countless claws digging into the surface of the hideout. The ground-level windows were completely covered by mice and zombies. Zhang Yi carefully observed and eventually realized they were large mice from deep within the subway tunnels. They had never appeared before, but this time it seemed that Zhang Yi and his group had killed too many of their kind, which angered them and led to this attack. Constant loud noises echoed in Zhang Yi's ears, causing him some discomfort. Zhang Yi cursed under his breath, damn these pests, why do they come here? Truly troublesome creatures. The large mice didn't have any special strengths, but their sharp teeth could tear through combat gear. Therefore, with the hideout surrounded by these large mice, they would certainly pose a certain threat to the defense system. Zhang Yi felt his hair stand on end. Considering the number of these large mice, even though they couldn't quickly breach the defenses, they would puncture and eventually breach the walls. Through the outside cameras, he saw countless mice surrounding the hideout. Now, even opening the door to go outside became difficult. Zhang Yi hastily put on his clothes. This time, the scale of the zombie group and the mouse pack they faced was clearly many times larger than before. The zombie king was truly enraged, serving as a warning to Zhang Yi and his group, as well as a deeper exploration. As long as the number of zombies was large enough, Zhang Yi and his group couldn't completely eliminate them in one go. Thus, there were always surviving zombies who would return and relay Zhang Yi's fighting methods to the zombie king. Gradually, the zombie king would become smarter, and the zombies under his command would become stronger, making Zhang Yi more passive over time. Zhang Yi immediately called Uncle Vu, Su Chunlei, and Liang Yu to deal with the pack of mice outside. 4 people and a cat started to systematically eradicate the large group of zombies and mice in a vast area. Zhang Yi looked at the mice and said, if we continue to let these giant mice attack our hideout, it's likely that within at most 2 years, our hideout will be destroyed. He spoke coldly, we need to hold out for 2 more days. The situation for Zhang Yi and his team was relatively good, they had no casualties, and the hideout had not suffered severe damage. However, other forces had suffered heavy losses. Zhaoyu base had to evacuate from the port and take refuge on a large ship at sea to avoid the zombie attacks. Wei Dinghai silently observed the zombies, thinking, the zombies are becoming more organized each day, almost like a military unit. They are displaying discipline. Though abandoning the port meant losing their supply lines, it was necessary for long-term development. He thought to himself, other forces don't have the advantage we do. They only fear relatively severe losses. The most dire situation was with the Baishua sect, which lacked a solid defensive line against the zombie attacks. Each day, a large number of their disciples were lost. However, the invasion of giant mice and the zombie group unexpectedly brought a benefit. They had previously struggled with food shortages, but now the slain giant mice could provide enough food for a person for several days. In such times, they cared little whether the mice carried a virus, being able to have a meal was considered fortunate. Scene change, 2 days quickly passed. In Zhang Yi's superpowered space, a large amount of seawater had completed the basic sedimentation process, separating out a significant amount of white salt deposits. Zhang Yi extracted these salt crystals with impurities. The salt content in the seawater had decreased significantly. Zhang Yi commented, although it's still higher than fresh water, it's easier to freeze now. Now Zhang Yi could proceed with his plan. He instructed Liu Karen to prepare several dozen barrels of solidifying agent and a large quantity of explosives. Zhang Yi and his combat team prepared to leave the hideout. A young man with a confident gaze said, let's depart immediately, we can execute the plan. Zhang Yi and his combat team got on snowmobiles and left the hideout. Instead of heading straight to the previous train station, they first headed towards a different train station. The objective was to completely freeze the zombies and mice inside the subway train. First, they needed to block all escape routes. To destroy a subway station, we don't need an excessively large amount of explosives, Su Chunlei exclaimed loudly. The explosives are ready, Zhang Yi raised his hand to signal readiness while silently thinking, to freeze these zombies and mice completely inside the subway, we first need to cut off all retreat paths. The first step was to completely blow up the train station. Zhang Yi pressed the button to activate the explosives. A loud bang echoed through the ground as the station quickly collapsed. Snow and earth buried the subway station deeply. Concerned, Su Chunlei asked, "Boss, what if the zombie king senses danger early and tries to escape?" Zhang Yi shook his head indifferently. "If it runs, that's the best scenario. Our initial goal isn't to kill the zombie king. We just want to ensure that our hideout isn't threatened. Whether it lives or dies near us doesn't matter." Liang Yu frowned worriedly. "But if other forces are wiped out, the entire city will be overrun by zombies and mice. Can we just worry about ourselves?" Zhang Yi chuckled, "You're overthinking. With our capabilities, we can only focus on self-preservation. The more you dwell on fear, the more serious it becomes. If we follow your analysis, one day, the entire Earth could be destroyed by viruses. What could we do then? Don't worry. First, let's concentrate on surviving in the present circumstances. Other issues, we can only leave to fate. We're not powerful enough to contemplate everything at a higher level." Liang Yu nodded in agreement, conceding to Zhang Yi's reasoning. Afterward, Zhang Yi approached the subway entrance where they had previously fought the zombies. He opened the door to his superpowered space and began pouring a large quantity of seawater into the subway train. The massive amount of seawater poured down, raging through the long, narrow tunnel. At this rate, within 5 hours, the entire discharged seawater could cover the entire tunnel. It seems that the mice in the subway train sensed the danger and tried to escape early. However, most of them were swept away by the rushing water, freezing to death on the spot. As for the zombies hibernating inside, they did not awaken. Without encountering any living beings or receiving orders from the zombie king, they quickly sank under the water's pressure. Zhang Yi's goal was to eliminate the majority of the zombies and mice, even if a few managed to escape. As long as their numbers were insignificant, they wouldn't pose a threat to his group. Inside the subway tunnel, the powerful current continued to surge like a mighty river. Zhang Yi then began opening large containers crafted by Lu Kursan, filled with a transparent fluid. When this solidifying agent was poured into the filtered seawater, it rapidly started freezing. The ice layer spread deep into the water. Zombies and large mice struggling in the water quickly froze solid. The large mice emitted terrified cries before rushing towards areas not yet covered by the floodwaters, but they couldn't outrun the swift current. In the blink of an eye, 5 hours passed. Now, the entire subway tunnel was completely frozen. Zhang Yi brushed his hands off. "Our problem can be considered solved now. Even if some zombies and large mice escaped, it doesn't matter. Whether the zombie king was killed or not isn't an issue either. Even if a group of armored zombies survived, they're not a concern. Whether zombies or mice, they only pose a threat in large numbers. Separately, even armored zombies don't worry me." Zhang Yi smiled at everyone. "Next, we can rest for a while. As for the troubles with the zombies and mice, let the other forces deal with them." Uncle Vu, Liang Yu, and Su Chunlei exchanged glances, each showing a slight smile on their faces. The unexpectedly simple resolution of the major problem earned Zhang Yi admiration. Uncle Vu couldn't help but exclaim, "Superpowers of the spatial system are indeed powerful."